So the trailer, as we see the trailer, it evokes a nationalism feel in every one of us. So how do you feel acting in an epic movie like this, ma'am?
Um, uh, s- Hello everyone, and thank you so much for being a part of this event today. We didn't expect such a messy turnout, and it's so wonderful of you all to remove time and be a part of our trailer launch here. So how do I feel a part of being a film which is, I think this is my first film which speaks about patriotism and the sentiment of being a patriot. It is in a way very unfortunate that in my 12 years career, I never really got to do a film which is about which is for the land or the love of land, It shows how indulgent we are at the movies. So it's a shame. In 12 years, I would have or should have been maybe big or small part of films which evoke sentiment of nationalism. But I don't think we make those kind of movies. But finally, it's here, and I hope it starts a trend of romance which is beyond just man woman love, or just love which is only of physical nature, or love which is only for yourself and your survival. I really hope, I know that we are just a developing nation, and I hope that we are struggling with many crises, and this romantic sentiments like romancing the love for the land and things like that is a little far-fetched for us. But I hope that we can go beyond the bare necessities and can do things which are a little bit more sort of sentimental in nature.
Thank you so much, ma'am. One more question. The film is full of action-packed. As if we see the trailer itself, we can see that there's most of action. What is the work you do at the back of the stage to prepare for the action, ma'am?
Well, action was definitely very challenging. When I started, I was very fragile, and I weighed around some 50 kgs, for my height. That's very skinny, and I couldn't even, I didn't look like a warrior, and I couldn't practice more than 30 minutes. So the person, my action director who trained me, he was worried about the fact that I will not be convincing as a warrior. My body type and the way my stamina was very low. Then I gained weight, and then I could actually do 10 to 12 hours action every day. It was a journey. It was something very different to be galloping, to be fighting with swords, to be fighting with two swords sometimes, hand combats, jumping off the horses, and sometimes falling with the horses. Along with the horse, you rehearse a fall some 25 times, and then you do it. So it's a very different world for me, and it took me a little aback, and I was like, oh, I'm not able to handle all of this. So it was a very different experience.
There is a great banner for this movie. Many people worked around it. Vijayendra Prasad sir and many of them. How would you feel working about great talents, ma'am?
I think we call this movie, like this movie has brought about so many talents from all across the country, and it's been gratifying for me to be working with Vijayendra sir or Danny sir or Kulbhushan sir, with some of the senior actors and artists, Shankar Ehsan Loy, Prasoon sir. All these people I've been only, been a fan of, I've been following like a fellow artist, but never really got a chance to work with them. So in that aspect also, it's been absolutely gratifying.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Question is for Kangana. Normally, it's very difficult for an artist to be a director, but this is a period film. How was your experience there? Because it would have been a little bit difficult there also, you should have gained some knowledge from someone else. To be as an actor as well as a director. For
Yes.
a Indian film.
Well, it was not an easy thing to do, but I think in a way what helped me that I came after, like I was the second person who directed it, if that makes sense. So a lot of action was already done with Nick Powell and Chris. So they had done a significant part of the action. Which was actually very challenging because action was very draining. And drama is mostly done by me alone. So even that was very challenging because in those kind of costumes, to be running to the monitor, and when it is not your shot, you usually go back to your van and you make sure that your makeup doesn't run out or your hair doesn't, sort of get messy. But instead, I would stay on the set and, direct other actors' scene. And it was hot and it would just become very inconvenient. But other than those physical discomforts, I don't see like a real obstacle for me while I directed, because I spent a lot of time with writers. I actually, when I went on floor, if I shot for 45 days, I must have spent the same amount of time with for lyrics and for dialogues and for the script structure and the screenplay. And they were like, oh my gosh, if she's going to take so long with every scene, like going and being sure about what we're going to shoot, then she will be very sort of, the way she shoots must be very tedious. But they were shocked that I actually only do one take. Because I actually feel that shooting is not the challenging part of filming. What to shoot, to decide that, to take that decision, to prepare for that is the challenging part. If you invest enough time on that, the day of the shoot is not actually difficult because you've actually gone through that in your mind. You know how the day will pan out. Unless something unexpected happens, like it rains or the horse doesn't behave or some actor falls sick, which you're anyway going to be prepared for, or covered for, insured for, then it's not a difficult thing. For Rani Laxmi Bai, I was very unsure how to approach it, because she's not a contemporary character, and the way the character is written is a bit larger than life. Like, she's this godly person who's blessed with gifts and really high moral standards and all of that. And I've been very uncomfortable playing characters who are larger than life. I usually like to have I've been doing a lot of human characters, who have flaws and who have weaknesses and who are just so real. But to be playing somebody who's just so amazing, I needed a lot of devotion, I needed a lot of faith, and I needed a lot of trust in people, that people can be perfect, which is a very hard thing to have. Yes. Yes, I am. In fact, I aspire to make mother of all epics, a war film around at least 10,000 years ago. But I will not tell you which characters. But they will definitely be the characters which we've all grown up with. No, so there are a lot of conspiracy theories, because what happened is that after Rani Laxmi Bai, the British rule came into India. The company rule could not handle, because the first freedom fight, the Sepoy mutiny broke out, and Rani took advantage of that, and she fought, and the British, the company had to leave India, and British Empire took over. And they are the one who protected company working in India. So that is the major change that happened. But when they did that, their biggest fear was that the revolution will break out again. So to handle that, the PR, they owned the press around that time. To write the memoir of these people was banned. Like today we can write about anyone, but we couldn't write about like how Tatya died, or what was the conflict with Rani, why didn't they let her adopt, because legally she was entitled to adopt, she could have adopted, but then their rules, they laid the rules, but then they did what they wanted to. So they completely banned people from writing about them. Instead, what they did, they spread these conspiracy theories that, which some of them are absolutely degrading and putting her in really bad light. Also because she rose to the, but they really underestimated Indians and our tradition of orally, sort of exchanging stories rather than trusting the written scriptures. But her folk became so big, and that's how it's traveled. But they completely banned about writing about her. And there were things like, her husband used to beat her up, and she was married when she was 10. Like, none of that is true. She was married when she was like 15, which I mean, in those days, it was the age, where you could conceive, and and also her husband was a very well-read man. He owned the biggest library in Asia, and when he left, rather than giving his empire to his cousin Sadashiv or anyone else, he gave it on her name. So his actions don't show that he was beating or locking her up in the room, or so was cruel to her. So these are the things that we had to use our own mind. That Gangadhar is painted as this really horrible person, where Rani Laxmi Bai is also like sort of a person that you had to really see their actions, which are documented facts in the history, and see that if you want to know one person, anybody's thoughts, you need to see their actions. So the actions are completely opposite of what British tried to portray. So like Prasoon sir being the CBFC chairperson and the head of that, we have only stuck to what is documented and what is absolutely, we're sure about, the turn of events. As far as the neighboring states are concerned, we know for a fact that states like Datia and Orcha, I don't know what they're called in today's time, but in those days, they were called Datia and Orcha. They joined hands with British, and they said that if they get Jhansi and they lend them their own, because company didn't have a lot of strength. It was the neighboring, those Chavnis which were giving them sepoys and other arms and all of that, and they sort of lent their power to them and said that if they can kill Rani, they will be taking the... So obviously there is a history of... yes, and also Indians not supporting Indians is also one thing that we have we have touched upon, that that has been probably the biggest biggest reason of our downfall. Yeah, most definitely I could, like if you understand the socio-political environment in those days, you will feel enraged and you will feel wronged, and it is but you just need to understand the environment in those days. It's definitely, you can't live a tense life like that in today's time, thankfully to people like her that we are living in the times that we are. But if you understand how they treated Indians and the way they, sort of harassed and manipulated and exploited the land and the wealth and the people, enraged, and you will feel, you will identify with them. She was a rebel, and also, if you see around that time, a lot of youth, a lot of people, like, they were contemporaries, whether her or Mangal Pandey, Tatya Tope, and there were hundreds of them. So you see, it had become a second nature for a youth to feel like, we need to sort of, break the chains of slavery. Yeah, okay. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone, for your support.